Hi everybody and welcome to James' House of Rock with our beautiful new set, as well as our nice looking black shirts now. Today's topic is Good Charlotte, Simple Plan, and Newfound Glory, all early to late 90s pop punk bands, all very similar sounding with similar producers. Our first one, Good Charlotte, was formed in 1996 in Waldorf, Maryland. Current members Joel and Benji Madden. Vocals, Joel does vocals, and guitar and vocals are Benji. Paul Thomas on bass. Billy Martin on rhythm guitar. Dean Butterworth on drums. And some past members, Aaron Escalopio on drums, and Chris Wilson also on drums. It's very weird that most bands tend to switch out their drummers more than anything else. Their first album, self-titled Good Charlotte, was released September 26, 2000, Daylight/Epic Records. Produced by Don Gilmore, which you may recognize from doing the Linkin Park and Eve 6 albums. Singles Little Things, The Motivation Proclamation, and Festival Song. There are videos for all of those singles, as well as another song called Click. It's kind of funny, the Little Things video starts with Joel making an announcement on the loudspeaker in the high school in the principal's office, and the name on the door for the principal's office is Don Gilmore, the producer of the album. And it's the only album with Aaron on drums. They also had a re-release of this in 2003 with the extra song The Click from the Little Things single. Their next album, The Young and the Hopeless, was released October 1st, 2002, Daylight/Epic Records, produced by Eric Valentine and John Feldman. Singles Lifestyles of the Rich and the Famous, The Anthem, Girls and Boys, and The Young and the Hopeless. There are videos for all the singles. This album reached number 7 on Billboards, and also seemed to get some negative reviews from critics, although it did go triple platinum, so that shows you how much critics can be correct. Their next album, Chronicles of Life and Death, was released October 4th, 2004, Daylight and Epic Records, produced by Eric Valentine. Singles Predictable, I Just Want to Live, The Chronicles of Life and Death, We Believe. This one reached number 3 on Billboards. There are 2 different versions of this album, the Life version and the Death version, both with similar but also different album covers. One is much darker than the other. I myself have the Life version. Both albums also come with a different bonus track depending on the Life or Death version. And is the first and only album with Chris Wilson on drums. The next release, and my favorite of their releases, Good Morning Revival, was released March 27th, 2007, Daylight and Epic Records. This one was the return of Don Gilmore on producing. Singles The River, featuring M Shadows and M Shadows of the band Avenged Sevenfold. Keep Your Hands Off My Girl, Dance Floor Anthem, Misery, and Where Would We Be. This one only got to number 7 on Billboards. There are actually a ton of different bonus versions of this album. So if you've got a little extra money and are a huge Good Charlotte fan, there are 1,000 bonus tracks on all these different versions of the album. There is a Walmart version, Target version, Best Buy version, iTunes version, and a Japanese version. And this one was actually a bit of a departure from their older sound, which was more of a teenager problem sound, especially from the Young and the Hopeless, to more of a dance pop type of thing with still elements of rock. Their latest release, Cardiology, was released October 27th, 2010 under Capitol Records, produced by Don Gilmore. Singles Like It's Her Birthday, Counting the Days, Last Night, and 1997. This one, however, did not do as well as their past albums, reaching only 31 on the Billboards. This one took so long to get out because they actually had to re-record the entire album. Not too many details on that end. The name of the album actually comes from the fact that all the songs are from the heart, according to Benji Madden. I have not fully listened to this album yet, but I've heard it's a little bit different than some of their other releases. And actually recently, very recently, 2 days ago, Good Charlotte announced that they were back after their 5-year break after this album, Cardiology, and actually have a new song on YouTube called Makeshift Love. I will give more news as it comes out on both here and the website, and hopefully we can see a new album with them from the revival of the early 90s pop punk bands in early 2016. More on that subject afterwards. Some of their other releases were the Greatest Remixes. It was released November 24th, 2008, produced by the three Madden brothers, Joel, Benji, and Josh, and Junior Sanchez. Epic and Daylight Records, and it's dance remixes of their songs off of all 4 of the previous albums, plus original songs Anxiety, Fight Song, and War. The remixes were done by many DJs, including Mr. Hahn from Linkin Park, as well as Patrick Stump of Fall Out Boy, which I'd assume the reason for that is that they are both bands that are produced by Don Gilmore. And it is the only album from Good Charlotte with a parental advisory sticker on it, which is actually a pretty fun fact if you ever want to tell your friends that. Our second band, Simple Plan, was formed in 1999 in Montreal. Members Pierre Bouvier on vocals, Chuck Cormier on drums, Jeff Stinko on lead guitar, and Sebastian Lebreve on rhythm guitar, and Daniel Desrosier on bass. They all have very, very French names because they are from like French Canada. Only band I've ever covered on this show that has no past members, which is a achievement, I guess, for a band. That means they have a good relationship with each other if none of them have ever left or they've never had to replace anybody. Their first album, No Pads, No Helmets, Just Balls, was released March 19th, 2002, and was produced by Arnold Laney under Lava or Atlantic Records. Singles I'm Just a Kid, I'd Do Anything, Addicted, and Perfect. This one reached number 35 on Billboards. And I'd Do Anything features Mark Hoppus from the band Blink-182, and the song You Don't Mean Anything is featuring Good Charlotte's own Joel Madden, which ties in nicely with this episode. The funny thing about it, though, is that on any CD I've read with the song I'd Do Anything, it doesn't say it's featuring Mark Hoppus. Even in the video, it doesn't say it, yet he is in the video singing his part. I'm Just a Kid is actually the song that got me into Simple Plan as well, and I can thank some friends for that. Their next album, Still Not Getting Any, was released October 26th, 2004 under Lava Records. Singles Welcome to My Life, Shut Up, How Could This Happen to Me, and Crazy. It was produced by Bob Rock, and this one did amazingly better than the first one, reaching number 3 on Billboards and going platinum. Their self-titled release, the next album, was released February 12th, 2008 under Lava Records. Singles When I'm Gone, Your Love Is a Lie, Take My Hand, and Save You, produced by Dave Fortman, Danja, and Max Martin. And this one went down the charts just the slightest at number 14. It was actually a departure from their earlier sound, including more elements of love rather than teenager problems, similar to Good Charlotte. I suppose as you grow up, teenager problems stop becoming teenager problems and become more of a love problem type deal. Their latest release, Get Your Heart On, was released June 21st, 2011 under Lava Records. Singles Can't Keep My Hands Off of You, Jet Lag, Astronaut, and Summer Paradise This one was produced by Brian Howes and was number 52 on Billboards, which was a very knockdown from the last album. And the song Freaking Me Out is featuring the lead singer from All Time Low on it. There's a version of this album in most major countries featuring different artists depending on the country. It's very similar to Good Charlotte, where there are many, many versions featuring many, many different content, or much, much different content depending on the country you get it in. So if you're a big enough fan, you've probably collected all of them. The following EP, Get Your Heart On The Second Coming, was released December 3rd, 2013. It's mostly B-sides from when they were recording Get Your Heart On, and it was released under Atlantic Records. There's not much more to it because it was a self-release, or like a smaller release, but it is available on iTunes if any of you are interested, and there are some really good songs on it. Simple Plan is actually in the studio right now recording a new album. They've been doing vlogs on their YouTube channel for the past couple months, and they've released actually a bunch of singles off the album, including Boom, Saturday, I Don't Want to Go to Bed, and I Don't Want to Be Sad. Those are all videos and audio videos available on their YouTube channel. So go check them out. They're awesome songs, and they sound very much like Get Your Heart On, Simple Plan. And they say the title and release date will be announced very shortly. I will make an announcement on the website as well as on the show when news like that gets announced. Our third and final band, New Found Glory, was originally known as A New Found Glory, but switched after their first major release. Members Jordan Pudnick on vocals, Chad Gilbert on guitar, Ian Grushka on bass, and Cyrus Baluki on drums. Can any band members ever have normal last names? I know most of these are probably stage names. And they've also had former members Steve Klein on guitar and Joe Marino on drums. They are from Coral Springs, Florida, and were formed in 1997. Labeled by AllMusic, practically working alongside the likes of Blink-182 as the blueprint for the entire genre of the early 2000s, when I have a prediction that in reality they were kind of overshadowed by the likes of Blink-182, and Green Day would have been the rise at this point. That's probably why I haven't actually met many people that know of them. Their first album, Nothing Gold Can Stay, was the only studio album to be labeled A New Found Glory, and was released October 19th, 1999 under Eulogy Records, and it was produced by the band, and had one single, Hit or Miss. It features samples from several different movies, as well as Robert Frost's Nothing Gold Can Stay, which inspired the name of the album. After the release of this album, the record label Drive Thru, and they paid Eulogy $5,000 to re-release this album, and it started to get a bit of a cult following after that whole event. The band later signed to Drive Thru Records and released their next album, New Found Glory, self-titled. It was released September 26, 2000, under Drive Thru Records, produced by Neil Avron. Singles Hit or Miss and Dressed to Kill. This one only made it to 107 on Billboards, which tends to happen with a band's first album. But it was certified gold. And there is a 10th anniversary edition that includes B-sides and a DVD. They went on tour in celebration of the 10th anniversary re-release of this album and played the album in its entirety. As you noticed, the single Hit or Miss was a re-release from Nothing Gold Can Stay. Their next album, and my favorite of their discography, Sticks and Stones, was released June 11th, 2002 through MCA and Drive Thru Records. This one was also produced by Neil Avron, and singles My Friends Over You, Head On Collision, and Understatement Understatement and My Friends Over You are probably my two favorite songs in the album, though the entire album is very good and is available on Spotify, as well as all their other albums if you're interested. This one did significantly better than the past album, going to number 4 on Billboard's. Their next album, Catalyst, was released May 18th, 2004 through Geffen Records, also produced by Neil Avron. Singles All Downhill From Here, Truth of My Youth, Failures Not Flattering, and I Don't Want to Know. This was their first major label debut, being with Geffen Records, who has also done bands like Angels and Airwaves. This one did just the slightest bit better than the last one, making it to number 3 on Billboard's and being certified gold. It includes an enhanced CD containing the making of the music video for All Downhill From Here. Their next album, Coming Home, was released September 19th, 2006 through Geffen Records. It was produced by the band and Tom Panuzio. Singles It's Not Your Fault. And this one did a little bit less than the other one, going to 19 on Billboard's. This is a concept album about being away from home and family, which you can tell was probably inspired by them being on tour through most of every album's release. And this was a big departure from the earlier sound, shifting from a pop-punk vibe to a slower tempo with classical instruments, which I think was needed for the topic at hand, because being away from home and family doesn't quite mix with pop-punk. The next album, Not Without a Fight, was released March 10th, 2009 through Epitaph Records, and was produced by Mark Hoppus of Blink-182. I've been listening to a few of the albums he's produced. He's a pretty good producer. Singles Listen to Your Friends, Don't Let Her Pull You Down, and Truck Stop Blues. This one did a little bit better than Coming Home at number 12 on Billboard's. And this is actually the longest time between albums in the entire band's history. And this went right back to their original pop-punk vibe. Now, I don't quite like this album, and I don't know if it's on Mark Hoppus or on New Found Glory, or maybe a little bit of mix of both, but this is the one New Found Glory album that I've listened to that I didn't enjoy all that much. Let me hear your opinion on my website. Their next album, Radio Surgery, was released October 4th, 2011 through Epitaph Records, and was returned back to the original producer, Neil Avron. Singles Radio Surgery, Anthem of the Unwanted, Summer Fling, and Don't Mean a Thing. This one went back down the Billboards at 26 and was the final album with Steve. And this one was a concept album about emotions people go through during a separation, which I think it's obvious that the lead singer was going through a breakup while writing this album. I have not listened to this album yet, but I would be very interested to. And once again, all of these are on Spotify for any of you that are interested. Their next album and latest release was Resurrection, and it was released October 7th, 2014 through Hopeless Records, and was produced by Paul Miner and the band. Singles Selfless, Ready and Willing, Stubborn, One More Round, and Vicious Love, featuring Hayley Williams of Paramore. This one just went up one spot at 25 on Billboard's, and there was a re-release called Resurrection Ascension, and it is now available, containing acoustic versions and B-sides off of this Resurrection. I don't know if they have any plans of releasing an album next year, but if they do release anything, I will put it on my website and I will announce it here. And keep an eye out for me. Email me if you see any more news that I didn't catch. Some of their other releases was It's All About the Girls EP, and it was released December 20th, 1997 through Fiddler Records. It was produced by James Wisner and the band, and this was the only release with Joe Marino on drums. There was a re-release with different artwork in 2000 by the record company. The next EP, Tip of the Iceberg, was released April 29th, 2008 through Bridge 9 Records and was produced by Paul Miner. There are 3 original tracks on the album, as well as some covers of classic bands. They had 2 other kind of cool concept ones, the first one being From the Screen to Your Stereo EP, Part 1, and it was released March 28th, 2000 through Drive-Thru Records, and it was produced by Jeremy Stanska and Newfound Glory, and it's all covers from movie soundtracks, which I think is a kind of cool concept. They did a similar thing, or another band did a similar thing, Bowling for Soup Goes to the Movies, which was a very similar concept. The next part for that, From the Screen to the Stereo Part 2, was actually a full album rather than an EP. And this one was released September 18th, 2007 through Drive-Thru Records and was produced by the band. There's a single, Kiss Me, and once again this is all taken from movie soundtracks, which I need to listen to these because I think that is a very good concept and I'd like to see their interpretations of different songs. The next one is Mania EP, which was released April 29th, 2013 through Bridge 9 Records, and it's all Ramones covers, which is like the birth of punk music, if you want to count it, so they definitely deserve a lot of love, and was made for Record Store Day, so it is only available on vinyl, as well as, which most from Record Store Day are only available on vinyl. This one's a rather interesting second release, A Very Newfound Glory Christmas. It was released December 1st, 2012, and it was self-released, not being under any record label, and was produced by the band. 2 original songs and 3 covers of classic Christmas songs. Only limited copies were released, but one of the originals off the album, Nothing for Christmas, is available on Spotify, and I think as well iTunes as well. And as you can tell, the album cover is a parody of the cover from the first Home Alone movie. So that's it for our band biographies, but I've got some new CD releases. It's been quite a bit since the last episode, so there is a pretty big list. The first being Motorhead, Bad Magic, Pop Evil, Up, Five Finger Death Punch, Got Your Six, Iron Maiden, Book of Souls, Slayer, Repentless, Bring Me the Horizon, That's the Spirit, Scorpions, Return to Forever, Duran Duran, Paper Gods, Trivium, Silence in the Snow, Coheed and Cambria, Color Before the Sun, and Def Leppard, which is a self-titled album, which I had no idea that the Scorpions or Duran Duran were still making music, but I did listen to the new Duran Duran album, and I find it very good. You should listen to it for yourself. Some concerts coming around are Shinedown and Breaking Benjamin at Mohegan Sun, November 19th, All Time Low with Sleeping with Sirens at the Oakdale Theater on the 20th. Meatloaf is at the Twin Rivers Casino on November 21st. Buck Cherry at the Blue Ocean Music Hall, November 21st. And Hinder at the Jules Nightclub, November 27th. Now, I wanted to talk about some of the upcoming releases, but not recent, I like to call it the revival of 90s pop punk, because all of them are releasing new albums next year, including Blink-182 with their new singer Matt Skiba, discussed last episode. Now that Good Charlotte's back, it's possible that they might release a new album. Simple Plan will be coming back either December or January of next year. And many more, including Green Day in the winter, sometime in the winter. And Sum 41, March, which was discussed last episode as well. You can pre-order it on the Pledge Music page right now. That's all for today. Oh, one last thing though, is the album of the episode. I couldn't pick between just one. So I actually have 2 to recommend to you guys. The first one being Starset Transmissions. I find their sound very, very similar to Angels and Airwaves, but just a touch heavier, seeing as Angels and Airwaves is a bit of a poppy sound. This could be almost classified as metal at some points. It's a very good album with a lot of electronics and synthesizers, and it's actually part of the Starset Society, which is a organization. I won't say their message on here, but I will include a link on my website to kind of check out their website if you're interested. The second one was Senses Fail, Still Searching, which I'm not quite sure when it was released, but it has a very 90s pop punk sound to it. I find them very similar to early Good Charlotte as well as Sum 41. I fell in love with this album. There are good songs such as The Rapture and Lost and Found on it. So I definitely suggest you can check them out. The band's been around for a while. Their next album after that was Life Is Not a Waiting Room, and that's also a very good album. So check those two albums out, and you can email me to tell your responses or even recommend another album to me. So I think that's all for this episode. I also wanted to announce that my movie studio, Dueling Dragon Productions, is launching their new website on Monday. And you should definitely go check that out. I will include a link on my website as well as down in the description below. And that's all for now. I will see you next time on James' House of Rock.